The restaurant never really slept. Even on slow nights. It breathed a soft, opulent hum of crystal clinking. Low conversation. And the kind of money that made a girl like me feel like a shadow moving through someone else's world. My name is Ava Byrne. 24 years old. And on nights like this, I felt every one of those years dragging behind me. 6 months at Solstice. Boston's most exclusive restaurant. And I still hadn't learned how to stop feeling invisible. Maybe that was the point. The uniform was black. The hallways were dim. And we were trained to glide. Not exist. But invisibility doesn't pay off medical bills. Not when your mother is in a care facility that charges more per month than your entire yearly rent. I balanced 3 plates on my arm. Muscles aching from the double shift. And wove through the tables of wealthy patrons. They barely glanced up. Why would they? To them. We were part of the decor, like the chandeliers, or the imported marble. Table 12. Ava. Chef called sharply from behind the counter. I nodded. Even though he'd already turned away, I'd learned long ago that people didn't need to look at you to expect something from you. I set the dishes down before a table of laughing socialites, murmured a polite enjoy, and stepped back into the river of noise and light. Same routine. Same exhaustion. Same fear of what new bill might appear in the mailbox tomorrow. But then, it changed. I didn't hear him at first. I felt him. A shift in the air. A subtle ripple as conversations softened. Then paused, just for a breath. Like a storm cloud passing over the sun, I turned my head. And that's when I saw him walk in. Dominic Calderone. Even if I hadn't recognized him, and I didn't, not then I would have known he was someone who made the room recalculate itself. Tall. Dark hair touched with copper under the warm lights. A suit tailored to a body built more for danger than business meetings. 2 men flanked him. Sharp-eyed. Silent. Scanning the restaurant with the precision of men who knew the weight of violence. They weren't bodyguards. They were something heavier. The maître d' almost tripped over himself greeting him. Voice lowering. Posture folding, into deference. Dominic didn't rush. He moved like the world adjusted around him, not the other way around. I slipped back toward the service counter. Pretending busy work. Trying not to stare. Trying not to wonder why his presence made my pulse trip over itself. Ava. Mr. Delaney. The owner. Murmured suddenly at my side. Take care of Mr. Calderone's table tonight. And do it perfectly. My stomach tightened. Who is he? I asked quietly. Delaney didn't answer right away. He only said, someone you don't want to offend. Then he turned and forced a businesslike smile onto his face. Great. Powerful. Mysterious. Possibly dangerous. And now he was my responsibility. I grabbed a tray. Steadied my breathing. And approached the private corner, where the maitre d' had seated Dominic and his men. The closer I got, the heavier the air felt warm. Charged. Like walking toward a lit fuse. I stopped at the table, kept my eyes lowered, as protocol required, and said, Good evening, gentlemen. May I take your drink order? Silence. The kind that wasn't empty, but observant. When I finally lifted my gaze, he was already looking at me. His eyes were a striking amber. Unusual. Molten. Unnervingly aware. He wasn't just looking at me. He was seeing me. Ava. Is it? He asked. His voice smooth. Low. Threaded with something foreign. Like the faintest echo of Italy. My breath faltered. How did you know my name? He nodded slightly toward my chest. The name tag. I flushed. Of course. God. Get it together. Ava. He ordered a bottle of wine. I knew cost more than 3 months of my rent. His tone wasn't arrogant. It was simply certain. The way someone speaks when they've never been told no. I did my best to stay calm as I brought the wine, arranged the glasses, and went through the ritual of uncorking it. But his gaze didn't leave me. Steady, assessing. Not in a predatory way, but in a way that made it impossible to breathe normally. One of the older men at the table, silver-haired and smug, leaned back and gave me a slow once-over. "Pretty little thing," he said. "Give us a smile." His tone made my skin crawl. I opened my mouth, forcing the polite, empty smile I'd perfected, but Dominic's voice cut through the space like a blade wrapped in velvet. "Don't." The word was soft, but carried the weight of a command. The man stiffened. Dominic continued. "Eyes, never leaving mine. If she smiles, it'll be for her, not for you." Silence spread over the table. Then, slowly, the silver-haired man looked down at his wineglass. I stood frozen, the bottle still in my hands. Dominic tapped the table twice. Gentle, but certain. "That will be all." "Ava." I nodded, trying not to look shaken, and stepped away, aware of his gaze following me until I disappeared behind the service door. My co-worker Jessica grabbed my arm. "Oh my God. Luca Calderone actually talked to you, Dominic?" I corrected automatically, then mentally cursed myself. I shouldn't know his first name like that. I shouldn't feel the echo of his voice, still lingering in my chest. Jessica's eyes widened. "You're shaking." "What did he say? Is he dangerous?" I wanted to say no, but the truth was more complicated. Mysterious, yes. Dangerous, probably. But not toward me. At least, not in the way she meant. The rest of the night blurred by. As the restaurant emptied, I caught glimpses of Dominic in the corner speaking quietly with his men, occasionally checking his phone. Always composed. I didn't go near his table again, unless absolutely necessary. I didn't trust my own heartbeat around him. It wasn't until we were minutes from closing when Delaney rushed toward me. "Ava, table 30 wants you." My stomach dropped. That was his table. I thought Javier was covering. He left early. Family emergency. Delaney pressed an envelope into my hand. "This is for you. From Mr. Calderone." I looked at the sealed paper. Then at Delaney. "What is it?" "Open it later," he said, almost nervously. "And Ava, be respectful. He's not a man you want to upset." "Great. Fantastic." I walked to the table. But Dominic was gone. The booth was empty except for a single heavy envelope, resting where he'd sat. I picked it up. Inside was a tip so large, it didn't feel real. A card with a simple phone number, embossed on thick black cardstock, and a handwritten note. "What nights does she work?" My pulse stumbled in my chest. I clocked out, changed in the staff hallway, and stepped into the cold Boston night. My mind spun with questions I couldn't answer. Why me? Why notice me? Why defend me? Why this? I tried to shake it off as I started the familiar walk home through narrow, dim streets, alone, tired, wrapped in the thin coat I'd bought 3 winters ago. Halfway down the block, headlights washed over my feet. A sleek black car eased up beside me, quiet, deliberate, matching my pace. My heart leapt into my throat. The back window rolled down. Dominic Calderone sat inside, his face half lit by the soft glow of the cabin light, those amber eyes catching mine like a snare. "It's late, Ava," he said gently. "Allow me to give you a ride." He swallowed hard. That's very kind. But I can walk. Really. I'm fine. He tilted his head. Expression unreadable. It's not safe for you to walk alone tonight. Pause. An invitation. A warning. I couldn't tell the difference. Get in. The door clicked open. And in that moment, tired. Cold. Scared. Curious, I made the choice that would change everything. I stepped toward the car. The door closed behind me with a soft, final click. For a moment, I just sat there inside the dim, warm cabin of Dominic Calderone's car, heartbeat thudding loud enough that I swore he could hear it. He didn't speak right away. He simply watched me with that slow, steady intensity that made the rest of the world fade out. You shouldn't walk alone this late, he finally said. Boston at night isn't as forgiving as you think. I tried to meet his eyes. Felled. And stared down at my hands instead. I've walked home 100 times. I murmured. It's never been a problem. He leaned back slightly. One brow lifting, not mocking me, but challenging the lie I'd wrapped around myself for years, just because nothing happened. He said quietly. Doesn't mean you were safe. There was something about the way he said it low. Calm. Absolutely certain. That made a shiver crawl up my spine. The car began to move. No one asked me for my address. He already knew where I lived. I should have been scared. Instead, I found myself wondering why he cared so much. After a moment, he asked, Do you live alone, yes? And your mother, you mentioned her earlier. My breath caught. I didn't mention her. No. He said softly. But your eyes did. I turned toward him. Startled. He continued. Your exhaustion isn't from this job. It's from everything you're carrying outside of it. Nobody had ever spoken to me like that. Nobody had ever seen me like that. So I told him the truth. The nursing school I dropped out of. My mother's stroke. The piling bills. The hours that drained me until I felt like a ghost wearing my own skin. He listened not with polite nods. Not with murmured sympathy, but with focus. Like every word mattered. And when I finished, he said something I wasn't prepared for. You deserve better than the life you've been forced into. Ava. My throat closed. I didn't know how to reply. So he didn't. When the car finally slowed in front of my apartment building, I reached for the door. Thank you for the ride, I whispered. He didn't let go of the moment. Ava. I froze. His amber eyes held mine. Quiet, but unflinching. This isn't the last time I'll see you. I should have been frightened by someone saying that, but I wasn't. I fell asleep that night, with the softness of his voice tangled in my thoughts. The next day at solstice, the morning passed in a blur of tables, orders, and customers with too much money and too little kindness. Around noon, Delaney approached, holding an envelope like it might explode. This came for you, he said stiffly. I opened it. Inside was a single card. An address. Nothing else. My heart twisted. I knew exactly who had sent it. Jessica leaned over my shoulder. You're not actually going, are you? I didn't answer. Because I already knew I would. Not out of recklessness. Not out of fear. But because I felt something pulling me, something quiet. Steady. And impossible to ignore. The building at the address was nothing like the restaurant. Nothing like my world. A luxury tower rising over the city. Sleek and modern. Shimmering with mirrored glass. A concierge greeted me by name. How did he know my name? He escorted me to a private elevator. How did Dominic anticipate the exact moment I'd arrive? The elevator opened directly into a penthouse that was nothing short of breathtaking floor-to-ceiling windows. Soft light spilling across expensive furniture. The entire city glittering below. But Dominic wasn't the first person I noticed. A small, elegant woman sat near the window. Blanket over her knees. Silver hair, neatly pinned. Her posture was perfect, regal, commanding despite her age. Luciana Calderone. She announced before I even introduced myself. My grandson tells me you're the girl who's been haunting his thoughts. My cheeks burned. He didn't, Eman. I'm not him. She waved a dismissive hand. Don't bother denying it. Dominic is not a man easily moved. And yet here you are. I swallowed. I only came because I received. I know why you came. She interrupted. You want to understand him. And you want to understand why you're not afraid. Her words hit too close to the truth. Before I could respond, Dominic entered the room. He didn't smile. But something softened in his eyes when he saw me. Ava. He said. I wasn't sure you'd come. Yes. You were. Luciana muttered. Dominic shot her a look. She ignored it. He gestured for me, to join him on a sofa facing the windows. I brought you here because there's a proposition I want to offer. Proposition. It's a job. He said simply. He blinks. A job. Luciana sniffed. Apparently your grandson assumes I can't manage on my own. You can't. Dominic replied smoothly. Not safely. He turned back to me. My grandmother needs someone with her. Someone patient. Capable. Discreet. Someone she won't fire. After 2 days. Luciana lifted her chin. I have standards. And she likes you. Dominic said. I never said. He only arched a brow. Luciana rolled her eyes skyward. Yes. All right. I like her. I stared at them both. Completely lost. So, you want me to be her companion? It would include housing. Dominic said. And a salary that would pay for your mother's care at a better facility. I froze. You don't even know me. He leaned in slightly. I know enough. Too much. Actually. And yet not enough at all. Something in his gaze unsettled me, not because it was frightening, but because it was the opposite. He continued. You'd be protected. Ava. My grandmother is safe under my name. Anyone connected to her is safe. There was a weight to his words, heavy. Unspoken. Edged with something like warning. I looked at Luciana. Her expression was unreadable. Then, after a breath, she said quietly, there's something I need to tell you before you say yes. Dominic stiffened. Not now. If she's to live here? Luciana said. She deserves the truth. I turned to her. Heart suddenly pounding. What truth? Luciana studied me for a long moment. Her gaze sharper than any doctor's. You look like her. She finally said. Look like who? Elena. The name landed like a shadow. Who is Elena? I whispered. Luciana's fingers tightened slightly around the edge of her blanket. She was someone Dominic cared for deeply. A medical student. Compassionate. Intelligent. She worked for me as you would. I swallowed. And what happened to her? Luciana's eyes dimmed. She was killed. Dominic looked away. Jaw tightening. Luciana's voice lowered further. The explosion was meant for me. Or possibly for Dominic. Eleanor took my car that night. A simple, tragic mistake. And the men who planted the bomb were never punished. I felt the air leave my lungs. And now, Luciana said quietly, those same men have returned to Boston. My stomach dropped. You think they might think I'm her? You resemble her enough. Luciana said. And you caught Dominic's attention the moment he saw you. That alone is reason for his enemies to watch. It felt like the room shrank around me. I wasn't imagining the car that had slowed behind me last night. I wasn't imagining the eyes on my back. Dominic, I whispered. Why didn't you tell me? He dragged in a breath, then met my Gaza. Because I didn't want to scare you. And because I didn't expect to care. His voice was quiet. Rough. But I do. He continued. And I won't lose someone again. Not because of my world. Fear flickered in me. Not of him. But of how easily my heart responded. How much danger am I in? I asked. Enough that walking away isn't as simple as you think. Silence stretched between us. The city lights shimmered outside the window. My choices narrowed into two paths, both terrifying. Both life-altering. Stay under his protection, or walk away and pray. His enemies never learned my face. My voice felt fragile when I spoke. If I stay, does this go away? No. He said honestly. But you'll be safe. As long as you're with me. And if I leave, Dominic's jaw tightened. I'll protect you from a distance. But I can't guarantee they won't act. Luciana added softly. You are already in the story. Ava. Dominic didn't choose that. You didn't choose that. But here we are. I closed my eyes. My heart was not neutral. Not anymore. Not after last night. Not after this. When I opened them again. Dominic was waiting, not pressuring. Not demanding. Just waiting. I'll stay. I whispered. Luciana smiled faintly. Dominic's shoulders eased for the first time. But deep inside me, a different truth stirred. I wasn't staying because of fear. I was staying because something inside me had begun to move toward him long before I realized it. Nights in the Calderone home were usually quiet. Wrapped in the soft glow of old lamps and the faint scent of Luciana's lavender tea. Butonit felt different. Thicker. Heavier. Dominic had left hours earlier with nothing but a quiet. I have to handle something. No explanation. No reassurance. Only the tension in his shoulders coiled. Sharp. Unmistakably dangerous. I tried to read. I tried to sleep. I tried to breathe normally, but something in me already knew. This wasn't business as usual. This was the storm gathering at the edge of everything we hadn't said. Late that night. As I sat in the dim hallway outside Luciana's room, she called to me softly. Come in. Child. She was awake. Her small frame silhouetted against the lamplight. Her eyes, those same deep amber eyes, Dominic carried, watching me with unsettling clarity. You're worried, she said. I sank into the chair beside her bed. I'm trying not to be. Luciana's expression softened in a way I'd rarely seen. My grandson loses everything he loves, she murmured. His father. His friend. Elena, he will not lose you. He will not allow it. Those words struck something deep inside me. Something raw. Trembling. Fragile. Just. My voice cracked. I don't know what scares me more. What might happen to him, or what might happen to me, if he doesn't come back. Luciana touched my hand light. Fragile. But steady. That is what love feels like at the beginning. She whispered. I didn't argue. I couldn't. Because deep down, I knew she was right. The front door opened hours later. Slow and heavy. As if pushed by exhausted hands. I ran. Dominic stood in the entryway alive. Breathing. But bruised. A cut above his brow. Darkening shadows along his jaw. His shirt rumpled. Stained faintly with blood that I prayed wasn't his. For a moment. Neither of us moved. Then I stepped forward. My hands trembling as I touched his face. You're hurt, I whispered. And I won't lose someone again. Not because of my world. Fear flickered in me. Not of him. But of how easily my heart responded. How much danger am I in? I asked. Enough that walking away isn't as simple as you think. Silence stretched between us. The city lights shimmered outside the window. My choices narrowed into two paths, both terrifying, both life-altering. Stay under his protection, or walk away, and pray his enemies never learned my face. The truth spilled out before I could stop it. You can't just disappear like that. His breath hitched. Ava. No. I said. Voice breaking. You don't get to do that. Not after everything. Not after letting me care about you. He closed his eyes. As if the words hit deeper than the injuries. When he opened them again, all his armor was gone. I ended it. He said quietly. The threat is over. For good. Relief crashed through me like a wave. But before I could speak, he continued. It looks worse than it is. He murmured, leaning into my touch like he hadn't allowed himself to feel softness for hours. Sit, I said gently. Hedid. I cleaned the cut above his eyebrow with shaking fingers, trying to ignore how close he was, how warm he felt, how his eyes never left mine. At some point, somewhere between cleaning his bruise and brushing his hair back from his forehead, something inside me cracked open. You scared me, I whispered. I'm not asking for forever. Ava. Just the chance to see what we could be, without fear hanging over us. Something in me broke open soft, aching, full of truth I could no longer deny. I touched his cheek again. Gently this time. Dominic. I whispered. I'm not staying because of fear, or because I owe you anything. He watched me with barely contained hope. I'm staying, I breathed. Because I want to. His exhale trembled yet. Almost disbelieving. Then stay, he said. Voice slow. But stay for you. Not for my world. I smiled through the tears, gathering in my lashes. No. I whispered. I'm staying for us. And for the first time, he let himself smile slow. Warm. Devastating. The next morning, Dominic drove me out of the city, down winding coastal roads, until we reached a small cemetery, overlooking the harbour. The air was crisp. The world quiet. He led me to a simple headstone. Elena Rossi. Beloved daughter. A healer. A light that never dimmed. Dominic stood beside me silently. His hands in his pockets. Shoulders tense, not with fear, but with vulnerability. I come here every week, he said softly. To remember, to honor what I lost, and to remind myself that protecting the people I care about comes with a price. I turned to him. Why bring me here? Because, he said, meeting my eyes with a tenderness I'd never seen from him before. I want to start, whatever this is, with honesty. I want you to know where I come from. And what I've survived. My heart ached for the man who carried so much alone. For the boy he once was. For the ghosts he still held close. I slipped my hand into his. Warm. Solid. Real. I'm not her, I said gently. No, Dominic replied, squeezing my hand. You're not. You're something entirely different. Something hopeful. Something terrifying. Something real. And as we stood there together in the morning light, I realized the truth that had been growing inside me since the moment he walked into the restaurant. Ava was no longer running. Dominic was no longer hiding behind power. We were meeting in the middle, bruised, flawed, uncertain, but trying for each other. Trying for something bigger than fear. As we walked back to the car, Dominic opened the door for me. His amber eyes soft as he watched me settle into the seat. I smiled at him, truly smiled, and whispered the truth that had been waiting for its moment. He walked into my life like a storm, and somehow, in the chaos, I found my safest place. If you enjoyed this story, if it made your heart race, or ache a little, or maybe believe in love again, don't forget to give this video a like. It helps more than you know. And if you want more stories like this, dark romance, forbidden love, powerful men with soft hearts, hit subscribe and join our little corner of the internet. Share this video with someone who loves a good emocional escape. And tell me in the comments, would you have stayed or walked away? I read every single comment. And I love hearing your thoughts. Thank you for listening. Truly. Until the next story, stay safe, stay soft, and stay curious.